Well, good morning. It's one of these walk and talk videos, and I wanted to use this opportunity just to again highlight some of the things uh, that I do from Faith Roots, partly because I'm always on the lookout for people that want to partner with us, and so part of that is that if you've watched videos, if you've made use of some of the resources on Faith Roots, then you might want to get involved, first of all, by praying. And so I want to just keep encouraging you to pray for what I do. You may want to know a bit about whether or not there's something here that you want to support financially. And if you're interested in partnering with us financially to support the type of work I do, particularly as you listen on, then I'd love to hear from you. Just get in touch. Go to faithroot.com to the contact page and get in touch with me there. But most of all, because the best way that people can partner with what we're trying to do here is by getting involved, by coming. And so if you were to do that, either yourself or if you know someone who might be interested, and especially if you are the pastor of a church and you're thinking maybe we could send people, it would be helpful to say a bit more about what you would be sending people to do. So the first thing to say is this: my real heart's passion is to see churches planted or replanted and revitalised sometimes in urban contexts, inner city, multicultural areas, white working class estates, those kinds of places. The places where you often don't see church planting happen, partly because our focus has tended to be in more middle class, more prosperous areas. A lot of church planting and new churches happened in university areas, and then they tend to follow the kind of migration path of graduates away from universities. And there are so many places that need the gospel, and they've built up this reputation over the years of being hard to reach places. And look, there are things that make places tough to reach. That make any place tough to reach. That make a university campus a tough place to reach with the gospel. That make a middle class suburb tough, hard to reach. But I've come to the conclusion, having grown up in Bradford, gone to the school on the estate, lived in a very much a working class city with a lot of deprivation, and then come back to the West Midlands and served as a pastor in Bearwood, and then as a church leader, church elder here in the north of Birmingham, in the King's Standing and Great Bar area. I've come to the conclusion that it's not that these places are closed to the gospel, it's that so often the church has closed its doors to the area. And when we start to get involved and make connections with people, get to know them, start to share the gospel, we find that actually the people are hungry, they're open, that there's a harvest field that is plentiful, but we need workers in that harvest field. And so my desire has been to see, first of all, new churches planted, and secondly, where there are existing churches that are in danger of dying, to give them help, and people as well, to see revitalisation happen. And back when I was at Bearwood, we started to do some of that. We planted a congregation that became a church, Nueva Vida, a Spanish-speaking church that was around for a period of time. We helped get a revitalisation team into West Smethwick Congregational Church, and we started planting by having new congregations using our are building connected into the existing church, but increasingly taking on their own shape. A 9:30 congregation with a family orientation around some of the young families in Bearwood itself that had been connecting through our toddlers groups. A Sunday night cafe style church that increasingly engaged with some of the homeless people, some single mums, lots of other people from different backgrounds. And we tried for a bit. We started to do some work in the mid-afternoon, often getting Muslim background families into our messy church style approach. And when our time at Bearwood came to an end, I realised that this was what God was encouraging me to be putting more of my attention into, to be trying to find people and say, would you come and get involved in that kind of church planting? But I was also particularly realising that we weren't going to see large teams of people going in and starting ready-made churches. That increasingly what we'd be looking at would be pioneers, ones and twos, a couple, a family, a few individuals, moving into an area, starting to get to know people, sharing their lives with people, using those opportunities to share the good news. And then perhaps Christianity Explored course or Alpha or First Look in the Home, and more discussions and conversations to see a congregation develop in the house, which might lead to eventually that church outgrowing the house and finding somewhere to meet, or might even lead to replication, another group meeting in another house, that kind of thing. So that's the kind of thing that we are particularly wanting to encourage. So part one, I'm looking for people who would love to get involved in pioneer church planting. It could be that. Could that be you? And if you say yes, and if the discernment of your current church elders, that's the right thing to do, then when you come, what you would get is a lot of support and encouragement from us, coaching and mentoring. We make sure that you were linked with an existing church to have lots of support and fellowship for you and your family as things begin to develop, so that there isn't a rush to get that fully functioning church off the ground. Why not get in touch? Contact me if that could be you. Why not get in touch if there's someone in your church and that might be for them? But the other thing that we would want to offer you if you came is training. And that's the other side of what I'm particularly passionate about. So first of all, simply training in church planting, and I'm part of something called the Birmingham Collective for Church Planting, and there's a lot of resources there, a monthly get together with training and teaching and encouragement, something called a Kickstarter course that helps people start to prepare for church planting. So a lot of resources through that. But the other thing that was increasingly on my mind and my heart when I was working in Bearwood was that I was seeing how there were lots of people who very clearly had gifting and character and a desire to be involved in church planting and in pastoring, particularly into these kind of urban contexts. But for all kinds of reasons, wouldn't be able to access the kind of training that we would strongly encourage you to have to help you sustain a lifelong ministry, specifically theological training, training in how to really get deep into God's word and to teach and communicate it and to pastor and disciple people. So one of the things I started doing back then was just giving time to people, one-to-one or in small groups where I could. In fact, that's something I've been doing for quite a few years now, going back even before Bearwood, just to teach and train. And the resources that we're putting together on Faith Roots are designed to provide that kind of support, that kind of training and teaching. And they're available to use, whether it's written articles, ebooks, or videos and audio recordings like this. And I'm happy for people to just pick up and make use of what they need and when they need it. But there is a benefit to being in person. And so I would encourage you to think about whether you would benefit from some training and equipping. And it looks to you like a normal seminary training at theological colleges is off the menu. And you're not too worried about getting a degree or a certificate. That's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about, how can I practically use this? I'm particularly thinking if you would learn best by what we call vocational on-the-job training, so where there's a close correlation between learning and studying and putting things into practice. And if that might be you, why not? Again, drop me a line and we'd love to start to talk to you about when and how. And the beauty of that is that you don't have to be governed by term dates, that kind of thing. Simply, it's when you're ready to start to come. And if there's an alignment there of being ready to come and start to train, but also being ready to just start to plant, that would be fantastic as well. So again, that's just a little bit of a flavour about what Faith Roots is all about. Is that something you could partner with? Is that something you could benefit from? Drop me a line and let me know.